All right, good morning, everybody. Hope everyone's having a good week. Here today, as always, with our good friend Steve Parisi from IBC Global. Steve, how are you doing today?
Mike, I am doing great. Had some snow out this morning when I was running. It was nice, but great over here. How about you?
I'm not ready to hear that. Good. I'm coming in a little hot this morning because, as I was telling you, I was thinking last night. I had a friend of mine a longtime friend, who was in the agency recently, working with one of the agents, really pushing back hard on any kind of whole life purchase. Um, we are never in a position where we're trying to fit a round peg in a square hole. And I'm a big believer in a well-rounded approach. I think people who know me know that about me. I'm not a salesman. I really kind of look at myself more as a consultant. I want to see the big picture. And I was really frustrated that this individual had so many layers of, just kind of investment mindset marketing baked into his constitution over the years that he couldn't take a fresh look at some of the things that we were proposing. I
Gotcha.
know you deal with this a lot. I know that a lot of times the folks that are coming to you, they're already looking for cash value, life insurance. But when that's not the case, what kind of conversations are you having with people? Because, I like to be well rounded. I like my investments and my financial world is well rounded. I believe there's a place for everything. You have to diversify. Um, but I look at a product that I represent very strongly with Mass Mutual that is conservative. It's going to accumulate cash value. It's not correlated to the market. It's liquid. When I borrow money against it, I'm going to continue to accumulate dividends as if all that money is sitting there. There's a tax-free death benefit. It drives tax-free
Yeah.
income. If you look at a 25-year time horizon, all the dollars that I'm putting into my whole life policies, maybe they're going to look like a 4% tax-free internal rate of return
Yeah.
on cash. I mean, why wouldn't you position your safe money there instead of a savings account, instead of a CD, instead of a bond fund? Um, I don't fully understand all the pushback other than there's a lot of negative marketing propaganda out there proposed from the investment side of the house.
hmm
So how do you talk through conversations like that? That was a long opening. Sorry.
Yeah. No. 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 I mean, I get it 100%. When individuals, I've heard it a million times. Whole life is a scam. I don't want anything to do with it. If this has anything to do with whole life insurance, I'm not interested. That stuff it comes up quite a bit. And how I look at it from a presentation standpoint or just a building awareness is there's really two sides of the fence. You've got one side, which is exactly what you just described, individuals that have heard of whole life or been presented whole life insurance and they looked at it, they said, okay, I'm purchasing this for death benefit, but cash value, cash accumulation, that is what I'm interested in. I see a company paying a 6%, maybe it's a 7% dividend rate when they looked at it at the time, and maybe they're putting in money and they have nothing in the beginning. Takes 10 years just to perhaps break even, meaning get your money back, your cash on cash, and they look at that and say, oh, okay, if this is such a good place to put money, like why does it look so bad? And then you've got things out there reinforcing the negativity. If you listen to a Dave Ramsey or Susie Orman, they've got their opinions and they're very vocal about them. So there's a lot of negativity around whole life insurance. And frankly, if it's designed in a manner where you have nothing in the beginning and cash accumulation is your goal, you want to see it, then it's not going to necessarily work
You're
in
not going
that.
to be happy.
Correct. But then you've got the other side of the fence And this is where the attraction is there when you see banks, corporations, the ultra wealthy, a lot of business owners, people we work with, put in tons of money into these products. And they've got cash value right off the bat. A lot of times it's the same company, same product, it's just designed differently. All that means is, as a consumer, if I pay $1 into a policy, I can choose how much of that dollar goes towards premium and how much goes into riders that accelerate the cash value growth. So without getting into detail there, the main point is, if the product is designed in a manner that copies or mimics what people with money are doing and have been doing this for so long, and then you hear comments like, I love whole life insurance. I remember an owner of a construction company made a comment. He had policies, 5 or 7 of them, something like that. And we analyzed them. He showed us all of his policies, and he was well-to-do. He said, other than the share in my business, my stocks, bonds, all my other investments, they've produced, but my life insurance policies have been my best performing asset, because that 4% internal rate of return, tax-free if you do everything right, it's just consistent regardless of what happens every year. So it is partly a mindset. You'll see the wealthy very happy with it, but they're typically presented a policy in a manner that's cash rich from the get-go. Very, very strong guaranteed cash values, short-term, long-term, all that good stuff. So, I would attest it to the policy design, meaning making sure it's designed up front. This way, if you're showing someone putting $100,000 per year into a policy with the same product, the same company, and option A has 0 in cash in year 1, option B has 50% in cash value, and option C has 85 to 90% cash value right off the bat, same company, same out of pocket by the consumer, they're going to look at it and say, why would everyone not go with option C? Well, because
Are you sacrificing future performance with that design? As an example, I remember years ago, there were a lot of advisors that I worked with were very interested in the high early cash value product.
Yeah.
And Mass Mutual has a high early cash value product where you pay $1 premium and you have 91 cents in cash value, 92 cents
Correct.
in cash value immediately. That product wasn't as strong a performer long-term as the other products. It wasn't that far off, but you were definitely sacrificing some future product performance.
Yeah, with a pure high early cash value product, like what you mentioned, you do sacrifice long-term performance. Now, if you take a traditional product that is designed for long-term cash accumulation and death benefit, that would be a case where the base premium typically gives 0 or a couple of percentage points credited to cash value in the first year, first and second. Those products can be designed, long-term product can be designed where you have 85 to 90% in cash value in the first year, which is appealing. A lot of people see that and say, okay, now I can reap the long-term benefits and it doesn't really hurt me because I don't necessarily need all of the money I pay in the first couple of years. I might not need any of it. I just like to see it there in case something happened, asset on the balance sheet, that kind of stuff. But to answer your question, so if you keep it apples to apples, right, with a traditional policy and all we're doing is lowering the base premium and increasing the PUA component to beef up the cash values. The question was, do you sacrifice long-term performance that way? The answer is potentially, and I hate giving that answer, but the reason why is when you look at how insurance companies pay dividends on life insurance products over a long, long period of time, 30 or 40 years, dividends are more favorable on base premium dollars as opposed to PUA dollars. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So if dividends come up.
Not really, but yeah. I follow you.
Point being is, let me try and do my best to simplify. If we take less up front The insurance company says, if we do well and our dividend rate goes up, we potentially may give you more money long term. That's more or less what's happening because of how they treat dividends on their pure premium piece, not riders that accelerate cash value, which is appealing as a consumer. It's very appealing as an agent because we can start to justify, okay, I can set a higher base premium, which means higher, compensation and such. But the thing is, like, what I've seen to be consistent is, aside from the what ifs, when we look at actual data, and I saw this a lot when SERPs are put in play for corporations and such, they will look at historic data and they juice the policies from the get-go. Asset in the balance sheet, day one, maximum cash value, and they say, we've had this for a while, and it performs at the highest rate when we squeeze the premium down, regardless of what the illustration says. So my thing is obtaining more historical data is always good, but looking at real performance, can you give up long-term performance by having more cash up front? Potentially, but in reality, I have not seen that. I've typically seen, if you max it out up front, you max it out long-term, and when you look at the guaranteed cash values, that's true 100% of the time.
Do you find that clients in these types of situations are kind of uber focused on upfront or early years cash value, or they want to look at options?
Good question. They always want to see options. Obviously, everyone's focused on the upfront. They want to see how much of a hit it's going to be. But, I wouldn't want to take all of my money up front if it's going to really negatively impact me long term. So we want to see the options there too. So we always will show options. Not everyone's focused on the immediate cash value. But the thing is, like, if 30 years down the road, if you and I look at an option and we're going to have $1 million, and option one gives you nothing up front or 50% of what you pay up front, and option B gives you the same or very similar to that $1 million in 30 years, but you've got almost all your money up front. It's like, why would you not take it up front? That way you can use it, right? I mean, the life insurance is great. You've got the protection from the death benefit, the safety, right? That, call it 4%, whatever it produces on the net returns. But using it, I mean, I know you're involved in real estate. If you want to use it for a real estate deal, like, that's where you're going to make your money.
I'm working on something right now.
Exactly. Like, that's where you're going to make your money. And the life insurance can just complement that. So, I mean, this is a nice, what's the right word, storehouse, but at the same time, using it for other opportunities. So the more capital we have access to, the more we can use it and accelerate everything.
You know what else is so important that I think never really gets a good enough look in our business from wholesalers and advisors is, I can't tell you how often I'm in competition with another carrier, and I've got someone who's looking for a death benefit solution, and they're also looking at cash values, and they don't really look at the income coming out of the policy.
Yeah.
And all these companies distribute income out of these policies, and it affects the policies in a different way, meaning that just because my policy has $100,000 in cash value and your policy has $90,000 in cash value doesn't mean necessarily that I'm going to drive more tax-free income out of my policy.
Correct. Yeah.
And I don't think folks really understand that or take a hard enough look at it. I think a lot of times it's like, here's this cash value, here's that cash value, this one's better. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily. Really depends how you plan to use it. It really depends on how the company recognizes loans and distributes money from the policy. You know this, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. We did a study on that recently. It was we've got a video, it's a public one, about setting expectations properly on the distribution phase, where what you mentioned plays into it. And we also showed, hey, if I'm pumping funds into a policy and I see this much income projected, okay, it looks great. but what does it look like in a conservative dividend environment if dividends come down, and also guarantees. This way I can see it up front as opposed to, thinking you're going to have 50 grand per year and then told after the fact you get 35. That's not the conversation. That's not the conversation anyone wants to have.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that you're kind of delving into that. I always thought that was interesting that gets kind of glossed over, and maybe an advisor can gloss over that, but from a client's perspective, you really need to understand how that works when you're looking at options.
Yeah, because there's so many moving parts, and it takes time to learn it, or an agent that's just going to do it for you properly. I mean, that's important. Yeah, a lot that goes into it. But I guess to kind of loop back around to your original question, with the individual saying, "Hey, whole life, not that great, like other investments and such." What I've found is typically just a means of awareness, seeing the options where, oh, I didn't know I could have that type of policy and mimic what a lot of these one percenters do in my personal situation with any amount of money that I'm paying in. That's usually the awareness where, at least what we've seen, the light bulb goes off. Oh, I didn't know that. All right, show me this option.
Yeah. And generally, I think people just, the stock market is sexier and more exciting. Not for me, but for most.
Right now, it's all over the place, which definitely exciting. I mean, that's a good word to use for it.
Yeah, not always good, but exciting.
Yeah.
All right, this was great. Thanks, Steve. I'll be talking to you this week, and if anybody is looking for, as always, Steve is looking to grow. His organization is growing rapidly during this time. How many of you can say that? So if you have questions about what Steve does, please reach out to him. He's a great contact in this space. And if you want to talk Mass Mutual, you want to talk whole life, give me a buzz, reach out via email. And Steve, have a great day.
Likewise. Thanks so much, Mike. Enjoy.
Thanks.
All right.